Hey guys, the other day somebody sent me a video, and it was done by Geo. It's about 7 months old, and I already had it on my list already for doing. And it was about whether we should help out our girlfriends when we break off with them. A lot of guys here, a lot of the bachelors, I'll say, sometimes they don't do some of the girls here any justice. And by that I mean, and let me get into this. I'm gonna get into this pretty deep. I didn't watch the video that Geo did, so I'm not gonna say anything about it. I like the content that he did, and what he covered anyway. I didn't watch it because I wanted to do my own video, and I don't watch a lot of the other vloggers for that reason alone. And I wanted to give my own content on this, okay? So I really can't say what he did or anything because I didn't watch it. But kudos to him for putting out a video about that. And I'm not sure what he said, but I'm going to give my thoughts on this, okay? And I think dating in the Philippines because of poverty is a lot different than dating in the U.S., okay? Because a lot of the guys here, they tend to move in with the girl almost immediately, whereas back in the U.S., we kind of date them, we go out with them for a while. I think the process is a lot different. We tend to wine and dine them back in the States before they move in or before we get really close with them. And then over here, we generally, we go out with them for a little while and then we move them in almost immediately. Some guys move them in almost the first day, which is kind of funny. But there is a bad side of that too. And I want to talk about this a little bit because of the fact that here's the bad side about it. A lot of guys here, and I've seen it around me, when they're dating a girl, they have a job, and they move them in right away, and they tell the girl they want the girl around all the time, and they want them to quit their job. And then 6 months later, because they didn't really get to know the girl well enough, and that's usually the case in a lot of these breakups, is that they break off with them, okay? And some of these guys might break off 2 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever, later on. And you got to kind of take into consideration and really think it out whether you want to help them for a while or not, because otherwise you're just kind of throwing them in the streets. And I know sometimes during a breakup it can be hard on people because you're angry or whatever. And I think we really have to kind of pull back a little bit and say, hey, look, I think we should take care of this person. They quit their job. Some of these girls have had government jobs and stuff or whatever, and some of these girls have worked jobs that took them a year to get, and they quit these jobs so they could be with their boyfriend. And if they did that, I think you have to take that into consideration. It's probably going to take another year for them to get back into a job, and you may want to help them out at least a little bit. I'm not sure how much. I think that comes from your heart, whether you want to do that or not. A lot of guys will say, no, screw that. I'm not going to take care of no girl. I got enough problems of my own. That's her problem. I broke up with her. She can go out on her own. Yeah, a lot of Filipino guys won't do that because of the fact that they can't afford it. A lot of expats can afford it to a certain amount, and they are willing to help out a little bit. And my take on this is that I think we should help out a little bit, okay? And I'm not saying with everybody. If your girlfriend's working, obviously you don't have to. If your girlfriend comes from money, obviously you don't have to. If your girlfriend comes from a wealthy family, then you probably won't have to. If she has her own restaurants, or she has her own store, or she has a way to make income almost immediately or whatever, that's a different ball game. But most of the guys over here, what they do is they tend to go for poverty. I'm not quite sure why, because you really don't have to, but a lot of the guys here, they go for girls that are poverty stricken. And I think that's kind of stupid on a lot of the guys' parts, because some of these girls do have jobs. They could have met them at the market. They could have met them at SM, working there as a sales girl or something like that. Or who knows? They usually meet them working someplace or on the streets or through Facebook or whatever. But most of them, I would say, probably have a job, or the ones that don't have a job are probably working part-time somewhere, and they have a little bit of money coming in. And when they leave that, it's hard for them to go back to that. And we have to kind of be responsible as Americans coming over here. And I believe in leaving people better than what they were before. Okay. I'm not sure how you guys feel, and you guys can comment, on this all you want, because, I respect you guys' thoughts too, and I know everybody thinks different, and maybe you have a different concept that I'm not I'm not taking into consideration here. It also depends on, how these people leave you too. Obviously, if it was really rough, but you should still consider, and try to take into consideration that maybe the anger might be bent because of the fact that they're going to be homeless or out on the streets or whatever, and some of these girls have kids to take care of too. And when you tell somebody to quit a job or whatever, they're not going to get that job back right away. It might take another year for them to get a job, or longer, if possible. In some spots, it takes a good year sometimes to get that job back. It makes it almost impossible for them to get in to that position again. And sometimes they can't get it back into those old positions that they worked at, especially if it's a municipal position or something. When you leave those spots, it's very difficult to get back in, especially if your age is a little bit older. Once you get past the age of 35 or 40, it makes it really, really hard for a girl over here to get a job. And you have to take that into consideration. And I'm not here telling you guys got to do, this is something you got to do. I'm telling you, consider it. Maybe give them a few bucks, say, hey, look, I don't want to leave you destitute. Here's some money for you, a few bucks for you. Take care of yourself. I wish you the best, and I hope everything turns out okay for you. Here's some money. The longer you are with a girl, I think that plays into this a little bit too. I think if you're with a girl for a long time, I think the more you should consider helping them out a little bit, because of the fact that you do have some sort of ties with them. In fact, you have soul ties with them, like we've talked about before. And that's important to take that into consideration also. We still care about these people to a certain extent. Even if we are breaking off with them, we care about these people because we've been with them for a long time. Despite how the breakup was, eventually that's going to settle. The dust is going to settle, and you're going to probably either become friends or talk still, or, you're still going to see this person on the streets, or maybe you won't. Maybe you're going to up and move and go someplace else. And that plays into it a little bit too. But, in the morning, you got to get up and look in the mirror every day and say, wow, I don't know if I did that girl right, and a lot of people say, well, oh, that's a simp thing to do. I think that's an immature way to look at it, to be honest with you. I think we as adults have to be more responsible. And here we are, we're in our 50s, 60s, and 70s. A lot of us guys are pretty well off, and I'm not telling you to blow all your money on every girl you break off with. Give her some money. If you're going out with a girl for a few months or something like that, and you're just dating or something, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the girls that you move in with and you live with for over a year. I think you should consider that. Or if you had her quit a job, that's when you got to consider it. Take that into consideration, guys, when you break off with a girl. A lot of guys here, they get this really immature way of looking at things sometimes over here. They don't take into consideration anybody's feelings. They just don't give a damn about anybody. And over here, like I said, it's a different world. This isn't the U.S. This isn't Kansas anymore. It just isn't. And have a heart when you're with these people, because when you're dating these girls, yeah, they might be going after you for your money or whatever, or maybe they're going with you because they do love you, or maybe they do care for you. Don't think of it that they're always after your money, because they're not all after your money, okay? And, like I said, if you're damaging their lifestyle by having them move in with you and them leaving a job, like I said, you have to consider that. Take that into consideration when you leave them, that I have to kind of make that right again, and at least think about it. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You guys do whatever you want to do. It's your life, obviously. But I just want to bring that up. I'd love to hear you guys' comments on this. I know some people will disagree with me, or some people will agree with me, and that's okay. I respect you guys. You guys know that. We have a lot of people in my group, and some people, when they dump a girl, they just dump a girl and move on, and they're on to the next one, and they could care less. And I respect everybody's feelings on that, and I'm just telling you my feelings, because that's the way I roll. And I know I roll a lot different than most expats do over here, for sure. But there are some good expats over here that do look after people when they leave, because some of us, a lot of guys over here, have been in relationships for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, living with a girl or whatever, or married to a woman. And, when they leave, they try to make, make everything whole again. And I that's my thoughts are that that's the way to really roll, if you can afford it. And if you can't afford it, obviously, then that's a good point too. And obviously, you can't help. But if you can and you can't afford it, I think it's the right thing to do. But again, like I said, that's a judgment call on you. It's your choice, and it's just my thoughts. Anyway, guys, God bless. Leave your comments. I'm interested to see comments on here on this one. God bless, guys. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show.